Hello everyone, I'm Marina and Nails Sakramel School. Recently, I've come across a new technique of nail extension, a rather curious one. The technique combines using paper and dual forms. I'm going to give it a try in today's video. Let's get into it. I have prepared a couple of nails. I've sculpted a thumb and a pinky, but I have not filed them yet. There is a free edge left on the index nail, and I will extend it with a dual form. No free edge on the middle one. I've covered the nails with a base coat and degreased them. As I've said, this technique features both paper and dual forms. We have to put a dual form on top of a paper one like this. It is supposed to give us a smooth coating. No touch-ups with a file. So I'm very curious about this technique. Doing extensions with paper forms, we have to touch up the tips. And working with dual forms, we touch up the cuticle zone. This technique is touch-up free. I decided to set a timer and do each of the techniques to find out which one is the most efficient. Starting with dual forms. I set a timer so that we could see how long it's going to take. I trim the form in the sinus zone to make sure it fits well. I lay out some milky gel and put the form on the nail. Together with my model, we cure it with a UV flashlight, just the cuticle zone. Then I turn the finger over and align the gel with a thin brush. We can always add more gel if necessary. Then I send it to cure in a lamp for at least 1 minute. This technique is actually super quick. All we have to do is to touch it up with a file after curing. For these nails, I've chosen a natural curve. I remove the form, degrease the nail and underneath it, and file it. It's going to be a square shape. Using a carbide drill bit, I slightly touch up the cuticle zone. It's practically perfect. Now I just need to define the free edge with a file to get a defined square shape. It's a quick technique, since the nail surface is pretty smooth, but it's still nuanced. I had to touch up the sidewalls as well. Now it's time to file leftover gel out. And here's the main drawback of this dual form configuration. They aren't too curved, so the nail ends up rather flat. It looks really natural, though I personally prefer a prominent C-curve. But we have 2 more techniques to go. This one took me 5 minutes and 29 seconds. Nail sculpting using dual forms. Next up, we have sculpting with paper forms. This technique requires some practice. We need to remove a tap, try the form on, and trim it if necessary. I cut it out and make cuts. You can actually do it by eye once you have enough skill, but I just want to make sure that you know where exactly to cut. I remove the paper and put the form on. It's also a quick technique for those who have mastered it. This coating will be smooth on the inside, thanks to the form configuration. No touch-ups underneath, but quite a few on the surface. Sure, I could lay it out first, remove the form and file the nail. Then I could sculpt it. But in that case, I would have ended up with a curved longitudinal curve. And it's not my personal favorite. I prefer having a straight line from the apex. I think it makes the nail look way more polished and expensive. Now I make sure to measure the length and send the nail to cure for at least 30 seconds. Now we can sculpt it. We can take the form off at this point, but I decided to keep it on since this layer is pretty thin. To sculpt this nail, I leave a tiny gap near the cuticle line for a simple nail art. So I don't get under the nail fault and over the base coat layer. Otherwise, the coating may peel off. By the way, it's a special occasion. My today's model is going to be engaged soon. So this is my take on engagement nails. After curing, I proceed with filing. I touch up the free edge and the sidewalls, as well as the nail surface. To smooth it out, I make long moves with the file going from right to left. This technique did not take too much time either. Now let's degrease the nail to compare the results. 5 minutes and 55 seconds. Look at the nail. It's super thin and beautifully curved. Next up is a new technique. First off, we put a paper form on. To be honest, I could not ace this technique right away. I had to remove that coating and do it all over again. And here's why. First off, I guide by the sculpting standards when it comes to dual forms. And I realized that a dual form won't fit here. It's too flat to match the nail curve. This time around, I did not trim it, but I'm confused by the gaps in the ingrows points. It's just that a dual form with a standard curve won't fit either. The only one that fits is curved. It's self-explanatory since the paper form is curved too. I fill it in with gel and put it on the template. Do you like manicure and nail extensions? If you do, join my new online course on nail sculpting, from 0 to pro, and get your certificate. The course is available worldwide. For more information, click the link in the description box below. Actually, I'm not sure about this flimsy construction. So let's press them together. See? The dual form lifts up, forming an air pocket. And I can't move it closer to the cuticle line or secure it well. So I slightly cure it and send it into the lamp. At first glance, it looks pretty good. But once we take a closer look, we can see a gap on the sidewall. Sure, we can fill it in, but it will take extra time. And there's a huge bubble on the inside. It appears when the form lifts up, just because there's an air pocket between these two forms. I have to waste my precious time to fill it in. That first bubble was even bigger. That's why I had to film it again. I just thought that including that part was unnecessary. But please give this video a thumbs up if you want to see it as a short clip. Now let's file the shape. Note that we could not regulate the length. And since I could not trim it, it's something that I have to do now. I touch up the cuticle zone with a drill bit. And then I go on with the file and file it and file it and file it. It gives some extra thickness, so let's file it out with a carbide drill bit. I turn the nail over to smooth it out. The paper form was supposed to excuse us from filing it on the inside, and the dual one were supposed to give us a smooth surface. But we ended up filing both, or it's just me who didn't get it right. This technique took 9 minutes and 51 seconds. Tell me what you think about it. It's 5 minutes and 29 seconds for dual forms, 5 minutes and 55 seconds for paper forms, and 9 minutes and 51 seconds for the combo. Though it looks decent. The tip is super thin. I'm going to add a quick nail art while you're typing comments. I would appreciate if some of you could guide me on the nuance of this technique. So I'm looking forward to your feedback. To spice it up, I put some Yuki flakes over a base coat and finish it off with a milky top coat. It helps to achieve an icy effect, and I think this nail art fits the concept of engagement nails. Let's sum it up. This new technique is rather weird. I'm sure one can get the hang of it and actually apply it, but good old paper and dual forms prove to be more efficient. There are detailed videos on paper and dual forms on my channel, so please subscribe. Success in your work! Good luck! Bye bye!